The highest number of infections, single day, 213. The highest number of deaths in a single day, 10. We are pretty much approaching the 5,000 mark. Good. Other than that, let's talk about what it means now for as we try to interpret the 2020-2021 document that Yatani tabled the other day. Ogwanga Omuga is in the house this morning. Good. Now, a showdown looms between Treasury and the National House as it seeks a delay on the implementation of a 14% value-added tax, VAT, on cooking gas by at least 1 year, a move which will prevent members of Parliament from expunging the new levy from a bill that will come into law from July 1st. Now, the Finance Bill 2020 has removed LPG from tax-exempt goods under the VAT charge, which will see the cost of the 13-kilogram gas rise by at least 300 bob. Members of the Finance Committee wish for the gas levy to be removed from the bill, warning that it would push more households to use dirty fuels like kerosene and charcoal for cooking. Cooking gas prices stood at an average of 2,231 in June 2016 and dropped to below 2,000 in October, 4 months after the scrapping of the 16% VAT. Now, looking at the performance from the years in 2019 to April this year, 2020, let's pretty much talk about what that means for Yatani. Therefore, asking the question, which is the best way forward for this section of the Finance Bill? Yes, Yatani is already facing hurdles.
Sure.
I talked to you when they were talking about the budget, and you said, this one needs fixing. In fact, you said, it looks as if these are people who don't understand the areas they need to grow the economy from.
Was I that harsh?
Yes, yes. In fact, let me just leave it there.
Okay.
Anyway, now Yatani is facing a battle.
Yeah.
The House wants to cushion the Kenyans from expensive fuel.
Sure.
Yatani knows that this is the place to get that money from. Somebody asks you the question, so which is the way to go?
Mm-hmm. One of the, even if you were to milk this section of the economy, how much are we thinking of getting from it? Maybe 3 billion to 10 billion.
Yes.
That is if you are looking at retail consumption of LPG and not institutional consumption, because LPG is consumed at both two levels. There is a retail consumption, and then there is the institutional consumption of places. Nowadays, if you want to cremate someone, that is LPG, right? Is it LPG or that one is electricity? It's gas all the same.
It's actually gas all the same.
Yeah, it's LPG.
It's LPG.
So equally what we are looking at is we are trying to look at how we can milk this cow. The problem is this cow is being malnourished. This cow is emaciated. So we are looking at maybe if we have like 10 million people in Kenya today using LPG, then we are looking at generating 3 billion from that, right? But that is a substantial amount. That's a substantial amount as long as we can now have 3 billion to form part of that 1.6 trillion. But the challenge that I have with this pronouncement is one. This regime, for some strange reason, has a way of second-guessing the president. You know, the president made a pronouncement that moving forward, we are going to caution people from 16% VAT.
Yes.
To that extent, was the president misleading us? And that is the challenge. In as much as Ukur Yatani is advancing, and actually is a gentleman who is a man on a mission to generate 1.6 trillion, right?
Yes.
But the converse of that is that he will make the president to appear as though the president was lying to Kenyans. The president was misrepresenting himself.
Yes.
And it's not only this only incident. There's equally another incident whereby the regime, the people working with the president, the administration, the authorities, actually made the president to appear as though the president was misleading Kenyans. There is that incident of the president said, and he made a pronouncement on it, that we are going to give 100 million shillings to artists. You remember that? Yeah, so because we want to cushion our artists out of this pandemic situation so that they can have a soft landing.
Yes.
The president said, we are going to give 100 million. 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later, the line minister, Ambassador Mina, comes and says, no, the president needs to make that pronouncement. That is what was intended, but the approach would be slightly different.
Yes.
And even now they are taxing more for you even to do anything online as an artist, right?
Yes.
So that is the catch-22 that we are putting the presidency at.
Yes.
That the presidency is becoming a liar. The presidency is becoming as making pronouncements that are not actionable. But as far as budget is concerned, I think Ukur Yatani is actually on the right footing. But to the extent that it will make the president to appear
yes.
as though he is misguiding Kenyans, that is not right.
Put yourself in Yatani's shoes this morning, Ogwang. Here is a document that has been presented to you.
Yeah.
It has 1.6 trillion.
Yes.
All right? That man at Kere will look at it and say, well, this is exactly what I've been told to go for this money.
Yes.
But your house is also telling you, no. I mean, during this period, if you do that, we have been trying to push the economy away from traditional sources of energy. We are trying to protect our forests. And by the way, there are regulations that are even existing right now as making use of firewood and charcoal illegal in the country. Good. What balance are you going to strike? Do you just go for it? Or do you hold back and say, well, we need to go back and say where we can get this money from now?
Do we not have alternatives? We have solar. You know, in as much as people will not be consuming firewood, but we have solar.
Yes.
And another alternative we have briquettes. And it's actually one of the most innovative emerging industries that is coming up.
Yes.
So in a way, we can see that the indirect approach to this keeping it at 16% VAT and not actually altering that 16% could be indirectly creating room for us to go to these other routes of alternative energy.
Pretty much. So are you saying that indeed for Yatani to try and get something out of it, they should have approached it differently? Don't tax it, leave it there, give us different sources that the economy can also use that as well.
But actually, it's not that don't tax it. It's already being taxed at 16%.
Yes.
The only problem is the president redirected us. But most of us, we don't know how government works. The president makes pronouncements, right? But most of those pronouncements are not carried out in the same vein that the president makes them. So actually the people in the line spaces are the people that are coming then and they formulate policies around it. They formulate bills and laws around it. They formulate programs around it. The president will say, this is now what we are going to do. And then the minister will come, the line minister involved will come and say, if we were to caution it from 14%, 16% to 14%, that is 2%. What is this 2% in the overall GDP?
Yes.
The interest of Ukur Yatani is GDP, not necessarily the growth of an economy. There's a huge difference between growing your GDP and growing the economy. Those are two different things. At times we think they are synonymous, but they're not synonymous.
Pretty much. I just want us to leave it there so that I take you to what we are talking right now again within the economy. Now, Magoha says that the Ministry of Education has put in place ample measures for schools to reopen. Now, the Ministry of Education has put in place ample mitigation measures to cap the spread of COVID-19 in schools ahead of the reopening in September. While speaking during a Zoom meeting with the Senate Ad Hoc Committee on COVID-19 situation in the country, Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha said that the government will take at most 30 days to sanitize schools as it proposes to produce prototype masks for various ages of school-going children. Prof. George Magoha further confirmed availability of enough water supplies in 99% of schools countrywide, except for Teso North and South. He however said that the government is sourcing for water and working on supplying water tanks in schools to address the deficit. or the deficiency by September. In line with the Ministry of Health COVID-19 guidelines, the ministry has allocated 2.4 billion for recruitment of intern teachers, 2.1 billion for construction of additional classrooms, and 900 million for infrastructure in primary schools, and a further 1.1 billion for 250,000 desks, 300 million for recruitment of ICT interns, and 2 billion for Teacher Service Commissioner, among other allocations. Now, this as the country continues to experience a rise in COVID-19 cases, because this morning we are talking about the biggest yet, 213, and also the biggest fatality cases, 10, just to paint a picture of where we're headed. Begging the question, should we continue talking about September when in reality the daily totals in the country are on an upward trend? Agwang, that's the question, man.
Okay. Yes. The thing is this. There's a tightrope to be made between two words.
Yes.
There is a pandemic and then there is an endemic. According to the way we are going, we are past the pandemic. The pandemic is whereby you are caught unawares. That, hey, what's happening? What's happening in China? Actually, speaking of China, there is another mutation of COVID-19. And China now, according to what I saw, China is now on lockdown.
Yes,
there is
again. 2.0, they're calling it 2.0 now.
Yes, 2.0.
Yes.
That is catastrophic. We don't even know what we are dealing with in the onset. Now, we have no clue.
That's the picture that is coming out.
We have no clue. Right? We have no clue. So chances are, if we are to not push our people towards endemic, because now we are at the pandemic stage.
Yes.
The endemic stage, actually medically, is where now people are trying to live with this.
That's what it is.
That is what I fear we are trying to nudge our people toward.
Yes.
That it's just okay. Let's just figure out a way of minimizing the devastating effects, and let's just live with it. As at now, any person who is actually entertaining ideas
Yes.
of opening up schools, I'm really looking for a very friendly English word for that. Because as at now, that is very catastrophic. Not only, but it can only be allowed if we want people to go toward the endemic stage.
Yes.
Whereby the only way of getting this thing into our system is through the institution of academia, the institution of schools. So let's get people back to schools, and then these people will take them back to their parents.
Because that's the way it is.
That's where
it?
we're going. Because
Yes.
no one, let me tell you, if we had cholera outbreak and it only indicated 50 people are infected, I'm telling you, an entire city will come to a standstill. But this is 4,000 people. And these 4,000 people, we don't know how they are recovering. We're just being told, people are recovering. 13 people recovered yesterday. 59 people recovered last week. These are just numbers that we are throwing left, right, center. The question is, how did they recover? Because as at now, we don't even know who has it. That is the challenge. But I'm keep telling you that so-and-so has recovered. What happened to Brenda? How has she picked up with her life? I wish I would know, so that we can go back to Brenda and say, from COVID, after post-COVID, how is Brenda faring on with her life? I'm only picking Brenda because that's the name that was thrown outside there. So as at now, we are still in the pandemic stage. Let's not push our people to the endemic stage,
yes,
because that is a wildfire. And when you throw gasoline on wildfire, that is the situation that we want to put our people in as at now.
Yes.
But let me ask you this. This is something that actually the CS pronounced himself on, that I don't understand. The inconsistencies at how we are communicating COVID. That COVID can now stay on a surface for 9 days. that should scare everyone.
But we're still trying to learn it even 4 or 5 months later on, isn't it?
It stays on surface for 9 days.
Yes.
Right? We are going to sanitize schools for 30 days. It's not that every day we are sanitizing one school.
Because learning has to continue as well.
It's not one day.
Yes.
That every day we are sanitizing one school. No. This is 30 days to sanitize all the schools countrywide. And by schools, I'm also imagining we were talking about tertiary institutions, we are talking about colleges, we are talking about universities.
Yes, because that timetable has to be
would fit
in
into
unison,
schools,
yes,
right? So
yes.
if this thing has the wisdom, this is one of the most amazing diseases ever. It's so amazing, it's past AIDS, right? AIDS can only survive on an open environment roughly 3 minutes. Corona can go for 9 days. That's a wise disease, eh? That's a disease that is chilling somewhere, that waiting for you, you know. Like now that I have not infected anyone, let me just go online and just see what people are talking about me. So if that is the case, what the ripple effect will that bring if someone comes to school with contamination? And that contamination can stay on that surface for 9 days.
And that's the situation that we're facing, isn't it?
It is catastrophic.
So now, why are we therefore, Ogwang, talking about a fixed date for reopening of schools?
Because one, catch-22 is exams. Exams have to be done. So the only way we'll justify guys going back to schools is for the necessity of exams.
Yes.
Can we remodel ways of people going through exams? And that is the best thing that we can do as at now. If people can do classes on Zoom,
which is not possible.
Yeah,
Mango has realized that.
Yeah,
it's not possible.
It's not possible.
There's no infrastructure for that.
We are lacking. But
Yes.
if people can now do classes on Zoom,
Yes.
I should actually entertain a thought whereby we can innovate ways. I'm not saying that we be reckless and conduct exams on Zoom, but we can innovate ways of keeping people safe. I'm telling you, in Kenya today, we have more than 3 million people going through schools.
Take them to
That
school.
is a wild number.
Yes.
If you can just take these people to school and this virus can stay on a surface for 9 days. Do you know what that means? That maybe I've gone to school and a friend did not even cough on me, but a friend just laid his hand on my bag. I take that bag home, that bag mixes with other things, then it transfers. And then that bag equally goes and it's handled by our house help. It transfers. That is a wildfire.
That's what we're waiting for. The date is September. Now, this, Ogwang, will interest you. I know you have very strong words on it. I can't wait for it. Now, according to ICJ, Kenya chapter chairman Kelvin Mogeni, the exchanges between the executive and judiciary undermine the promotion and protection of human rights, democracy and the rule of law. Mr. Mogeni has also indicated that the commission is alarmed by attempts by the executive and legislature to overlook and undermine the mandate of the judiciary. He pointed to the growing trend in which senior government officials continue to ignore court orders with impunity, terming them as regrettable. Only one question that we have to put to Ogwang this morning, because it belongs to that docket. He understands exactly how the powers work. Who is right in this battle between the executive and judiciary?
Who is right? I would wish to reframe it this way.
I knew that was coming. I knew that was coming. Anyway.
I would wish to reframe it this way,
Yes.
Simba. It's not really a question of who is right. The question is what is proper.
That's it.
What is proper.
Yes.
When we are looking at the separation of powers, and I think I've said it very much more often, when you're looking at that triangle is not placed this way, so that automatically the one that is preceding everyone is the executive.
Yes.
The triangle of separation of powers is placed vertical, horizontal. Which one goes like this?
This is horizontal.
This is horizontal.
And this is
okay.
vertical. Yes.
That rectangle, that triangle does not stand Vertical. This is vertical.
Yes, this is vertical.
Okay, okay. that shows you how back I was in school. Eh? so that triangle is not standing vertical.
Yes.
That triangle is lying horizontal.
I see now.
Horizontal.
Yes.
So then that means no one is supposed to supersede the other, because we don't trust each other. That is the indirect way that we can understand separation of powers.
Yes.
But in all intents and purposes, the executive is always coercive. And that is why the police and the military are always domiciled within the executive, because the coercive interest of the state is actually vested with the police.
Yes.
So to that extent, the only way Uhuru Kenyatta today can have a say is when the police are on his side and the military are on his side. That is the only way. Otherwise, they are all civilians. Actually, he's not a military guy. He's just a civilian. But the point that gives him that is to the extent that the coercive element of the state are with the executive. So to that extent, mostly what will always appear is that me, I'm coercive. But guess what? The legislature says, now, for you to be coercive, you will require the environments that I create through legislation.
Yes.
So to that extent, they will pronounce themselves on anything. 9 out of 10, according to our doctrine of separation of powers in Kenya, the legislature is always in bed with the executive. Because for you to appear on the legislature, you must of a necessity be a politician. Right?
Yes.
And according to the way we have structured our political doctrine equally, the people that will have say in the legislature are of the ruling party.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So that is catch-22. So 9 out of 10, the interest of the executive is actually ran by the legislature.
Yes.
9 out of 10, there is always this presumption that the executive normally don't have the best interest of the people.
Yes.
Because they're coercive.
Yes.
Right.
Now, Ogwang, somebody listens to you speak, and you saw the other day Maraga regret, saying that it's as if I don't exist. I give you orders that you're supposed to abide to, but you pretty much trample on them as if the judiciary does not exist. I mean, which way out for Maraga then?
Which way out is for us to begin understanding who has the absolute power. All these people, regardless of which arm of government you appear, they don't have absolute power. This power is exercised in the interest of the people with absolute power. The challenge that we have, especially according to growing our legal system and our jurisprudence, is that the people with the absolute power are the ones that are ignorant. It is you and I who don't know how to call them to act. We don't know how to make our executive accountable. We don't know how to make our legislature accountable. We don't know how to make our judiciary accountable. So as at now, the judiciary feels like we are working in the interest of the people, and the people are supposed to support us, but the people are spectators. The people are just sending memes. You know, we are sharing memes and likes.
About the fight between Maraga and Uhuru Kenyatta.
Yeah, and you're like,
yes.
Who do you think we win? And actually, most of us were saying, yeah? Most of us were thinking, you remember when Uhuru said we will revisit? Yes, I think now he's revisiting. But that is the challenge.
Yes.
The people with the absolute power are not even aware that they have that absolute power.
I want to put you on the spot this morning.
Yes.
Talk to me about the demolitions that we saw the other day at, was it at Kariobangi? Yes.
Yes.
Happened at night within the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yes.
There was a court order stopping those demolitions.
Yes, yes.
Good. I want to point you another case, Miguna. How many court orders have you seen, man?
Like 90.
Plenty.
90.
Plenty.
Yeah. The other day, CS, Doctor Who, this CS were internal security, says, they go there, they come, they go there, they come out with orders. They go there, they come out with orders.
Wow.
Yeah.
How, therefore, did you explain these scenarios and place them on the people?
It's the people to put their governments to account, literally. And we have 10 million avenues under the Constitution of putting our government accountable. But the government is made up of shrewd individuals, that the only way that they can actually manage all of us is when they actually divide all of us. And they have a scheme of dividing all of us. It's
Yes.
called tribe.
Yes.
Right? The other day, some group of people, they had that one of their own, the majority leader in the National Assembly, people are baying for his blood politically. Yeah? And no sooner was that released outside than they came and now as people are of North Nini, we stand with our own. Right? We stand with our own. To that extent.
Yes.
But if we can just arrive to a point whereby we are non-partisan
Yes.
in the entire conversation, I am a Kenyan, and my responsibility as a Kenyan, number one, is to make sure that law and order is followed. Most of these things will not be happening. Some of these things are happening. The only way CS, Dr. Matiang'i, can actually disobey court orders is because you and I, we don't know how do we get him accountable. You know, most of us, we would rather read some of these useless magazines than read the Constitution. People are reading useless things all day long, but you're not even getting to be aware, what are my duties and responsibility under the law? We don't know. We have responsibilities. Guess what? The only thing government will never ask you for your opinion is when the government asks you to pay taxes. They will never ask you. Why? Because that's your responsibility under the law.
Yes.
But we equally have another responsibility, putting government to task. When we put government to task, then all these three arms of government will toe their line. That is what we are not. So if the duty and if the challenge, according to the ICJ, if the challenge is that we are not seeing the promotion and protection of human rights, it's because you and I, we don't care about promotion and protection of human rights. If these people are not obeying court orders, let me ask you, the president is not performing his constitutional duty. The Constitution is not a set of suggestions. You know, today if you want to go on hike to Ngong Hills, I will tell you, Simba, you need to get water. Those are sets of suggestions. The Constitution is not a set of suggestions. This is duty. If you do not perform that duty, then that means you disqualify yourself from performing any other duty under the Constitution. So the duty of performing the Constitution is you perform the Constitution whole. You don't perform the Constitution like going for a barbecue. That today I want to do this, and tomorrow I want to do this. And that's why the same problem that Anne Waiguru has put herself in. When you fail to address your county assembly,
yes,
you are not acting. You are not carrying out the Constitution. So that then negates you from performing other constitutional duties. It's just like they say, when you break one commandment of God, you have broken every other commandment of God. It's the same thing with the Constitution. So the president cannot cherry pick. That, I think, according to the Judicial Service Commission, some of these judges you guys gave me, I have a lot of reservations. No, that duty is denied you. That duty, as far as Judicial Service Commission has pronounced itself, your only duty is to either say, you guys go back and do this again, or you pronounce it. To the extent you don't pronounce it, you disqualify yourself even from doing other constitutional duties, according to the Constitution.
Very much. Just an interesting juxtaposition you're doing this morning, Ogwang, and I can't wait to see how this goes, man.
Okay.
Because the battle is not done. It is still there.
Okay.
Maraga is not got his judges. And he knows he has to get them.
He must get them.
He must get them. Whew. All right, finally, despite KQ struggling with losses, the pay of former Kenya Airways Chief Executive Officer Sebastian Mikosh jumped 46% to 91.98 million last year on grounds of a special package at the end of his contract. Sorry, the latest payout is in contrast with 2018 when Mr. Mikosh received 62.89 million, which comprised of 42 million salary and 16.43 million allowances and non-cash benefits amounting to 4.44 million. Mr. Mikosh joined KQ on June 1st, 2017 to try a huge task of turning around the airline's fortunes that had been posting losses since 2012. Now, his 3-year contract was to end at the beginning of this month. Sebastian Mikosh was appointed by the International Air Transport Association, IATA, as the Senior Vice President for Member and External Relations with effect 1st June 2020. So he's doing his 19th day. Well, Mikosh left by himself before the end of his contract. Did he deserve a set of package? Which legal point did KQ board act under for this decision? The guy left. I mean, yes, Ogwang, he left.
Yes.
He said, I can't do this.
Okay.
Well, Kenyans, come deal with your problems. I can't do this.
Yes, yes.
Then why did we give him a set of package?
That's a beautiful thing. When we give someone a job, right?
Yes.
And nowadays organizations have this thing they call job description, and then after that job description, we throw a set of targets at you.
Yes.
And you say, so, but let me ask, when I came to work, did I come to work 100%? Yes, I came to work 100%.
Yes.
Yes. Was my mind there 100%? Yes. Can you quantify 100% of my attention?
I don't think you can.
You can't quantify.
Yes.
The most, if you ever have a capacity to bargain in your best interest anywhere on earth, if you ever have that ability that you can come, you know, some people come to contracts and you're like, this is what we are going to pay you, sign here. And this is what we are going to do for you, sign here. And you have 33 days, sign here. And if you don't come for work, sign here. You know, that is not a contract, you know. A contract, the basic meaning of the word contract is our minds have come, and that's why there is a Latin word for it. It's called consensus ad idem.
Yes.
That our minds have met. And where our minds met, then we should sign at that. When you have the ability to negotiate positions, the best thing to do is to negotiate in your best interest. It's very funny, if you look at the contract, the law of contract in any other country, it's like 3 pages. It's the shortest, like the shortest verse in the Bible, Jesus wept.
Yeah, which one is it? John 3 verse 1.
The shortest chapter.
Yes.
The shortest chapter.
Yes.
In the entire law, legal institution is the law of contract.
Yes.
Because we cannot impose restrictions on the minds of the people. We cannot go back and ask ourselves, what considerations did the board consider to arrive at that? No. The point is, did you sign? Yes. Then you act. Because the gentleman, when he was engaging, the gentleman had a capacity to bargain. The gentleman did not come from a point of desperation that, yes, oh, you guys, you know, actually, I'm not. No. Actually, no sooner had the gentleman left than he's given another job. Yes, altogether. So which means the gentleman in the international market space has value. That value is what you're paid for. You don't pay that gentleman because of turning around our own problem. No, you got yourself into that problem. Me, I'm just pronouncing myself.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. But Ogwang, come from this perspective. KQ has never been profit-making since 2012. So I'm sort of thinking allowances would make sense.
I think even earlier, more than 2012.
Yes.
Someone should look for Titus.
Pretty much, isn't it? Pretty much. So if you go back to 2012,
okay.
You've never made profits for 8 years or more.
But it's still afloat.
Isn't it?
Still afloat.
It's still afloat, isn't it? So where do you get this moral compass to raise somebody's salary by 46%, when in reality, that 91 million, you would have used it somewhere.
No, you can't use it someone. The gentleman, when the gentleman was coming to work, and actually one of the most innovative guys that has ever done that in the public space is PLO.
Yes.
When PLO went to the Integrity House, Integrity Center, he had actually carefully negotiated for that clause in his contract, that I realized that I'm working with very shrewd people. And my tenure here might be disrupted any moment.
Yes.
So the gentleman actually managed to have this line in his contract. If my term here is arbitrarily or cut short on emergency,
yes,
out of not my own making, you guys will pay me as though I have served my entire term. You know, and he was paid.
Yes.
The same thing equally,
yes,
with the pronouncement of this contract, from what I can look at it.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
But Ogwang, he wasn't kicked out. He himself came and said, well, I can't do this anymore, guys.
It's the problem is with our own lawyers. The problem is us. Why do we need to employ someone from abroad to come and take care of our own business? The problem is us. The problem is equally with the narrow-mindedness of the lawyers on our part that were part of framing that entire contract. The problem is us. The problem is not him. Him actually, whatever he is doing and whatever is actually we owe him is actually proper. To that extent, we should pay the guy. We should ask ourselves,
yes,
Kenyans, we have gotten ourselves to this problem. Do we need, for one, do we need to have an airline, a national airline? And let's have everyone vote. If they will vote on Zoom, it doesn't matter. Let people vote. And majority will say, no, we don't have. Then we'll ask ourselves, then what do we do with all these planes we have? Then someone will suggest, let's sell them. And let's, after selling these planes, let's just distribute this money to everyone, right? Okay. The challenge here is the only solution out of Kenya Airways is not foreign. No one will bring it outside. The only thing that a foreigner has ever managed to run is Safaricom. Nothing else. Nothing else, right? But if we want to build our own industries, if we want to build our own sectors, then we really need to think of homegrown solutions. And homegrown solutions is a gentleman like you and I. Macron went to a university, like the universities, whatever he got from that university. Actually, there's a university in Kenya, maybe that is offering the same.
Yes.
But the issue is not with the qualification. The issue is how are we building talent? That the talent that we are building as a people is talent that is competent enough that can perform at a global stage. The only thing that Kenya is performing at global stage is sports. More than sports, nothing else. So it is time for us to really look at how are we growing our legal space, that today can a law firm from Kenya operate somewhere in New Zealand? Can a law firm in Kenya have a branch somewhere in New York? But that's the challenge, so that we can have that global mindset in everything that every individual is doing. If you're a videographer, your next point should be, how can I set up a branch in New York? That is global competition, because talent is not limited. Education and papers might be limited, but not talent. We need to grow homegrown talent that will give us solutions to our homegrown challenges. KQ is a problem that we created ourselves through our own greed. And I can tell you, the problem of KQ did not start in 2012.
Yes.
Someone should actually look for that gentleman and ask him, why are you misreporting? All through your tenure, were you misreporting? Because how come that all of a sudden we're having problems, but while you're here, there are no problems? We need to grow homegrown solutions to homegrown challenges and cultivate talent in our people.
Ogwang, thank you very much, man. Your Fridays cannot get better at Metropole TV KE. Take him back to the time that he came into the studio on YouTube at Metropole TV Kenya. I know those messages are coming in. 2146 Charles_Kiage. We take a short break, but once we come back, Let's talk about music business.